Commander's call will begin momentarily. Please find your seats and remember to turn off or silence all electronic devices. $0.60 and to those joining us on live stream, welcome. Please note that we will be taking questions live and we will begin today's event with a short welcome message from the commander of the 67th Cyberspace Wing, Sean C.G. Sir, the floor is yours.
The floor is mine. I'll reserve my comment. That. Rocket.
Yes, sir. To begin, we would like to from the 67th Cyberspace. For those unable to attend, graphically separated, we're in the graphically separated units. The 60 Cyber Wings information dominance, cyber operations, and standing cyber war. The 67 Cyber Wings information for NCO is Master Sergeant Brandon. Seven Cyber Dominant Cyberspace Assembly. CGO is Captain Kevin Rotwiste of with cost. '67 Cyberspace FGO is Major Sean Harvey of the 375th cost. The 67 Cyber Wings Dominance Outstanding Cat 2 Civilian is Matthew Shotuck of the 92nd cost. The 67 Cyber Wings information outstanding Cat 3 civilian is Mr. Daniel Agistolis, 31st cost. $836 cost. The 67 Cyber Wings Information Dominance Lieutenant Carl W. Grant, Unit Award Number, the 91st. awards in their categories. Francisco of the 370 Our officer nominee is Captain Rebecca Jones of the 41st COS. Nominee Marsha Klein, 36th COS. However, if you hear your name called, please still come to the front to accept your award. For those unable to attend, geographically separated, we will read out the names, pause, and next award. Awards will be sent to your respective units to hand out. The Airman of the Quarter Award goes to Quarter Award from the 3 Technical Sergeant Corbin. The Senior SEO of the Quarter Award goes to 39th I. The FGO of the 52nd COS, Major Recognition of the Quarter Award from the 3 PS A1C Rob. Senior Technician of the Quarter Award goes to, from the 91st COS, Staff Sergeant Trevor Loss.
Which is fantastic because if you don't know already, this year, 2022, is our 75th anniversary as a wing. So I wanted to take an opportunity to highlight some key moments from our history and draw some connections between the past and the present in the 67th. So I want to start by taking us back to the fall of 1943 in Middle Wallop, England. At that time, Colonel George Peck of the 67th Tactical Reconnaissance Group was given a classified mission to conduct the largest ever aerial photo mapping mission in a military setting. He was supposed to capture detailed images from most of northern coastline, which was then controlled and defended by Germans. A project like this had never been done before in a combat setting. This wasn't the first time that the group had been asked to innovate a new combat technique on the fly, while there was already a high ops tempo. The group had first been activated 1 week before Pearl Harbor was attacked in 1941, and tasked with developing TTPs for low-altitude tactical aerial reconnaissance to support ground forces. This was a new mission for an air component. Prior to deploying to Europe, they integrated with ground commanders and tried out 11 different types of aircraft to find the best ways to serve as the land commander's real-time eyes beyond the front line. The P-51, which they modified for reconnaissance photography, proved to be the best choice, the P-51 Mustang. But in Middle Wallop in 1943, they hadn't gotten their P-51s yet. They hadn't arrived due to logistical issues. So to get real-world experience and get in the air, they borrowed a bunch of spare British Spitfires and started flying combat missions alongside RAF pilots. As they did so, they tried out their new tactical reconnaissance missions in a live environment. Now, with this new photo mapping mission, they needed to innovate again. The team set to work modifying their equipment to create gridded oblique photographs of potential landing sites. This is a brand new technique that required on-the-fly construction of new equipment and installation into the aircraft. They were photographing both the topography of northern France and enemy defensive positions, flying hundreds of missions under fire at incredibly low altitudes throughout the spring of 1944, leading up to D-Day. And this is how General Eisenhower and others picked the landing sites for D-Day. Following D-Day, the group went back to the reinforced tactical recon techniques, played a critical role in the Third Army's march across Europe, and supported the Battle of the Bulge. Once the war ended and the Air Force was born in 1947, the 67th was a couple months after the Air Force was transformed into an Air Force. There's a huge group here, actual yoke, a B-26 that now. Please make sure that whoever has this at the end of the all call tactics development. And during this period, the wing also flew numerous special operations missions, including Grenada. The last tactical recon mission, the wing flew in combat in Desert Storm, flying F-4s. After Desert Storm, the wing became an intelligence wing, and then as the internet grew in size, our mission became more and more focused on the cyber domain where it is today. Today, whether we're hunting for malicious cyber actors in blue and gray space, providing options through OCO, innovating new tools, technologies, and TTPs, or training at the leading edge of a new way of warfare, there are many things that connect us to the past. Working at the tactical level, diving right into the weeds as no one else can in the Air Force in order to support specific mission objectives. But when we do this, we have a direct strategic impact that few other wings can match, but that we also had going all the way back to D-Day. We are in many ways the only airmen in the entire Air Force who can do what we do. After all, every battle rostered CMF member in the Air Force is in this wing. Lastly, we are, as we've always been, audacious, creative, and ready to find our own path through uncharted territory. As the historian, I get to know a lot of our missions and a lot of our airmen. I just conducted an oral degree. It's a guy who's been doing software development for many years. So I want to continue to capture that history. Please reach out. I want to make you aware of that as a resource to do audio recordings at different levels. So with that, Slingers, and here's to another 75 years of excellence in the 67th Wing.
Thank you, Dr. Fitzsimons. Next, we would like to welcome Chief McKendry to the stage for remarks.
Listen, Chief is back with a afternoon, gunslingers. Sorry, we didn't rehearse this, so I apologize. So a tradition of honor and a legacy of valor. I'll get to my primary comments, and you may have some questions. See, well, as you saw, we adapt and overcome change, and nothing's eval and narrative writing. So pause there. We'll talk about that here for just a second. First, I apologize to those at our outstations, but a couple comments for our personnel here. Wing PT, if you haven't seen, has been moved to actual Halloween. The 92nd, where's the 92nd at? There you go, is hosting a Halloween Wing PT event. So if you're able, Same schedule, same time, same location, different day. So looking forward to that Halloween festivities off right with a PT day. So it's supposed to rain in the morning, should be good to go in the afternoon. And if you have a spot hosting a vehicle and doing the trunk part of that, if you have an awning, an umbrella, loose wrappers, 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, so batten down the hatches. We're still holding it, so it should be a good event. Look forward to seeing you out there. Now, I won't talk about my eval. Narrative. How many people got more than 5 emails about the Air Force's guidance on the narrative writing style? Just a show of hands. Some questions. All of those, only one level set everybody. The Air Force in the very first statement said they did not want to be overly prescriptive and leave it up to us to kind of work through it. In my opinion, it's one of the places we needed to be at least a little bit prescriptive, and that's kind of where we're working through right now. So today, we're going to start this out with our fourth quarter awards. Trust me, every chief has weighed in and told me what right looks like. And so we're going to get some guidance out to the force. A little peek under the curtain. A performance statement is a single sentence with an action and then with the resultant impact. Goes through the whole thing. But all the definitions and examples they show is a paragraph. It's that type of churn that's kind of hamstrung us on trying to figure out what guidance we're going to put out. So I did not want to put out 67 Cyberwing guidance on how to do a narrative performance statement and what that's going to look if the NAF or the ACC or the Air Force was going to come over the top and change it for annuals. And then what are the functional awards going to look like? So we all have the same questions that I'm sure you have. We're not going to get any guidance. So we're going to make it up. And as of right now, the fourth quarter awards are going to be 5 performance statements. And we'll figure out, there'll be some sort of maximum lines, 3 or 4. And one self-improvement statement. And we're going to roll with that. And we're going to see what this looks like. I'm not going to be overly prescriptive. Work. See what the bullets come in. I have a document out of 1206 that I put some examples, and none of them look the same, because right now, that's apparently what we're allowed to do. So I want to the freedom to write, adapt, and come into this new guidance like the rest of us, and then we'll slowly lock it down. And I would ask that you all remain flexible, because annual awards are going to leave here, and I'm sure the Air Force is going to prescribe something for them. Then we're going to roll into evals, OPRs, starting with the 06s and the chiefs, OPRs and EPs. Still figuring out what that guidance is going to look like, the single sentence and the narrative piece. So I appreciate your patience. I'll pause there. Any questions from the audience? Anybody want any more guidance on what fourth quarter this is in a narrative performance statement? Okay, so before I hand the mic over to Colonel Kern and he gets through some important information, anybody have any initial questions? I'll be here. I'll tag team the questions with Colonel Kern, but anything specifically for me? You all should know I appreciate what you do. I know it's not easy. The world's a little upside down. The Air Force is, we're churning through some stuff, but I ask to keep your head down, keep doing what you're doing, and you need to understand Colonel Kern and I are extremely proud of what you bring to the fight every day. Thank you.
What am I talking about? No, joke. Oh, I'm up. There we go. Okay. Boom. Oh, did it turn off?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our esteemed Wing Commander,
Oh, okay. That's what I get to live with every day. It's super. Gets me up in the morning. I'm so. What a teammate. Okay, hey, can we get real? Is that? All right. I haven't heard that. Chief and I have been visiting squadrons since I sent out my commander's intent. And I asked the question, who signed up to review it? And I would tell you it's like about 1 in 10 airmen that raise their hand and admit that they've read it. I won't ask you if you have or have not, but I want you to know it's important, and you should. And the reason you should is because it gives you an opportunity to be empowered in the type of environment and culture you deserve, if we all follow it. Right? So there's the written form on Nipper email. If that's not the way to get to you, have your leadership tell me the best way is to get to you. If I have to dox it up to JWIX and get it over to you on NSANet or whatever, where you are. Chief and I will go where you are so that you can hear what we have to say so that we can keep communication going, okay? I also did a 7.5-minute video on our YouTube channel in case maybe you don't like to read, but you're more auditory visual. No sweat. There's a 7.5-month video, 7.5 month. I feel that way. Yikes. That's what I would say. No. 7.5-minute video, kind of mayor's intent. You get it live today. All right. There's only 4 elements. First one's high connection and trust. I talked about it in my change of command speech. I talked about it. It was the major theme of the roundup we had on my second command with our squadron command teams on up and our senior wing staff. It's that important. It is the first element in my commander's intent. What is high connection and high trust? First, it starts with humility. Humility is the backbone of leadership. What does humility look like? You listen and you learn first before you speak. You listen, you learn, then you lead. Right? Because everything we do is hard. So it takes a team to come together to solve these hard problems. Right? And you need a leader that's going to listen and learn with that team. That leader also has to establish psychological safety. I've talked about this before, but it's important. Psychological safety, such that an airman doesn't feel like they're at risk to say something, and when they say it, they don't understand what's going on, they might be ignorant, or maybe they're challenging the status quo, they don't want to look disruptive. Right? So that leader has to set the conditions for everybody to have a voice. And in there is an element of diversity and inclusion and belonging, right? Because it's really easy. I think my level of safety is different than yours. Just say it, right? So we have to make sure that level of safety is sufficient for everybody so that they have a voice at the table and they can communicate and be part of the team, right? So humility, psychological safety, interlaced with diversity, inclusion, and belonging, right? That is what I think of when I think of high connection and high trust. And we can talk about that offline. There's something I'm missing, right? Because the bottom line is, it's better to get it right than to be right. So a humble leader isn't walking in the room trying to convince you and everybody else that they're right and you're wrong. That's not what leaders do. Leaders bring teams together and they get to the best solution known. And that takes all of our voices. Would you guys agree with that? All right, good, good. Okay, number 2, the wing serves the group and the groups serve the squadrons. All right, so I just talked about, right, high connection, high trust behavior. Behavior for who? Who you're in service to. The wing is in service to the groups. The groups are in service to the squadrons of the heartbeat. You are the heartbeat of the Air Force, right? There's no reason for us to come to work every day if it isn't to come here and serve you. My rank, position, and status, and Chief's rank, position, and status is solely for the purpose of elevating you. Okay, wings serve the group, groups serve the squadrons. Number 3, virtuous cycle. Anybody hear of a vicious cycle? Common classic, good. Common classic one is like the arms race during the Cold War, where we build nukes, then they build more nukes, and then they build more nukes, and you kind of get this negative reinforcing feedback loop, and you get to a place you don't want to go. No one really does. You got to break that feedback loop, right? So in a virtuous cycle, it's a positive reinforcing loop. And there's 2 that we have the potential for in this wing because we're uniquely postured. We're uniquely postured because the entire cyber mission force is in our wing. The entire force that is employed on behalf of combatant commands and cyberspace operations and information warfare, this wing. The other thing that's super cool is we have a lot, not all of it, but a lot of the OT&E things that help prepare you to be successful when you're preparing for, conducting, and then post-operation. We got our our developers, we've got our testers, we've got our rangers, we've got our trainers. All of that packaged together you into a prepared state for employment, right? So what's super cool about it is if we prepare the force, you, we employ the force, you know what we're not doing? Assessing the force. That's the crux of the virtuous cycle. If you assess the force, you're looking for things you can improve operations, so I can take that feedback, look straight back at employment, updated TTPs, you name it. Or we identify gaps in organize, train, equip, and we push that around to prepare. And if you get really, really good and really fast at those two feedback loops, can you imagine that's a pretty terrific world to live in, right? So you got a briefing from our historian. What you is our new A9. So we're standing up an A9 directorate in the wing. I've approved 2 temp overhire civilian positions to be on his staff, and we're looking at contracting options. Because the A9 is vital to continuous improvement and continuous learning in this organization so we can be better. Cool? All right. Behaviors, high connection, high trust. Behave that way for who? In service to the groups in the school. With a focus on the virtuous cycle and assessment that enables us to get better at operation and close OT&E gaps. All with a focus. All with a radical focus. What does that mean? How many people feel like they're kind of stuck in a whirlwind every day? Like you come into work with this idea of what you're going to do. Actually, I'm kind of like that a fair amount, right? We'll have a support group after. That unplanned work sucks. It saps your energy and your productivity for the things that to accelerate your lives and our mission, right? So, the radical focus gives you license to say, hey, if it's not CMF awareness, if it's not CMF growth, if it's not building a strong assessment capacity in the wing, and if it's not about serving our fellow airmen through diversity and inclusion and belonging initiatives, then I have the right to potentially say no. Right? Now, it's a little bit different for y'all down and in the squadrons where you're conducting operations, supporting operations, et cetera. It's a little bit different than that. So this may be a little bit more for what's important about all the supporting functions and command functions that support you. That's fair. But you need to know what we're focused on. So you can tell us, sir, I don't think those are actually the right priorities. I think the priority should be X, Y, Z. So when I put this up, I tell you it's my current commander's intent. I expect you to challenge it in probably 2 ways, maybe more. One, is it complete? Am I missing something? Right? If I'm serving you, do you see me serving you there? And 2, maybe it's unclear. Like, I kind of like the idea of that, but I really don't understand it. That virtuous cycle thing is kind of, tell me more, right? So if it's incomplete or unclear, you need to let me know so I can refine it. Because it's to help all of us get on the same sheet of paper, literally 1 page, and move out together. Is that fair? All right, so I can't help you if I don't know what's up. And that's a nice segue. Hey, who did that? That was really cool. That was not planned, I swear to God. Okay, last commander's call, I was asked, well, I talked about the need for feedback, right? I said, we really desperately need your how to prioritize. And then I was asked a question, well, how do I submit ideas? You guys remember that? And I said, email? Probably not a very satisfying answer, but I told you that R6 was working on a crowdsourcing platform. Boom. There's the link. There's the link, right? So what's the purpose of it? It's organized kind of in 3 sections. Peer-to-peer wisdom. Like, so you can, there are already questions there. And other airmen in the wing can look at it and go, oh, I got an answer for you. I fixed that. Here's what it looks like. So kind of that peer-to-peer wisdom. right? Second piece is crowdsourcing prioritization. And so those are like bigger ideas, whether they're issues or opportunities or things of that nature. And the idea there is that we can all comment on it, ask questions, clarify, vote something up, vote something. I don't think you can't vote anything down. We don't work that way. We support each other. So you can vote things up, and then we will have business rules in place to prioritize that work, and then we shift it in the third space, which are campaigns, right? And so your ideas can become campaigns in this wing where we align priorities and resources against it to solve the issue, right? Or tackle the opportunity. So that's generally the gist. So for funsies, because we do that too every once in a while, there's a, what would that be under? Oh, that's a crowdsourcing prioritization. There's a question that just says vote here, and when we get to 800 votes, we get a gold day. I love me a day off, right? Right? So what that looks like is just vote. I'm not asking you to type anything. Click a button. All you've got to do is get a account on this Confluence instance, and then you'll be able to vote. And when we get to 800, we rally and we have a gold day. Right? So this is about kind of getting in, adopting the platform, looking around, seeing what's up. Right? We'll also be using this to make everything we do very transparent. So if you want to know what's going on in the readiness campaign, if you want to know what's going on in CMF growth, you know, or what other issues or opportunities you bring up, you'll find it here. You'll find it here, because we should be open and transparent and communicate in every way we can. So that's that. And as I looked at it, it was 361 yesterday afternoon. It was 366 this morning when I looked at it. I look at this page every Friday afternoon. It's on my calendar. It says reflection, projection, and engagement. You can look at it. It's an hour block every Friday. Well, actually, it's every day of the week. But on Friday, my focus is on being on this platform, seeing what's going on and engaging you, looking for opportunities to serve you. So that's kind of the gist of that. Cool.
Make 800 votes.
Oh, yeah. No timeline. When we get to 800, we get to 800. You want to sprint there? Awesome. I have a bias for action, and I'm very impatient. So if you want to get to 800 and get that goal day, let's do it. But it's up to you, and it's for you. So if you've done it, ask your peers, have you done it? Have you got on there and done that yet? Because if we get to 800, get a goal day, right? Let me talk about action here real quick. That just made me think about something. So the reason it's peer-to-peer wisdom, the reason it's set up so that you can bring up issues or opportunities and other people can comment, clarify, add value, right, is because we have walked the wing. We have seen the amazing, exquisite talent and innovation that's occurring at the tactical level. We know your talent, right? I don't really think you need me or the chief
No, you don't need me.
to solve a lot of your issues, those opportunities. I think you can look to the side. I think where you need us, we will be there, right? So you're empowered to execute. But where you feel like you don't have enough authority or have enough resources, you know, typically money and manpower, right? Or you don't feel like your schedule permits you to spend some time thinking about the problem, we can work that out. We can work that out. That's the point. Cool. Great question. I might have, yeah, let's do the next one. Word cloud. All right, so anything up there interesting? It could be anything else too. This is not constrained, but anything up there interesting that you want to ask a question about, either to me, chief, or both? Oh, okay. Noticed. Yeah. I can, yeah. Cool. So we are inactivating the OSS, integrating with the wing staff, and we're building for a new organization. As part of that, we had 2 professional development sessions over the course of a week. The first one was watching all 5 videos of Brene Brown's After the Heart Together. It's a docuseries on HBO Max. And it talks about the 30, what she calls the 30 foundational emotions, what their definitions are, and how to think about that, right? Because, some of us think that we're thinking beings that sometimes feel. The premise is we're feeling beings that sometimes think, right? So you feel something before you think something, and then before you, right? So if we can create space between when you feel and then when you actually behave with the right language to have meaningful conversations with each other, and it all leads to developing meaningful connection. That's the whole purpose, developing meaningful connection. I think connection sounds familiar. I think I might use that. Okay. And one we did was we brought a current sitting a course leader and a former LDC instructor. And we brought them in, and for 2 days, we ran cohorts through a 3-hour group process. And then we had an opening for all of us, a 3-hour cohort, and then a close. In that, he said, really part of that was, what do you notice? What do you notice when you go to work, in your personal life? And then it was, what do you ignore? Which is kind of funny. You're like, how do I know if I ignore that or not? That's, I ignored it. But it made you stop and have to think and reflect, right? And so the challenge that we got was, are you noticing the right things? Are you taking time to create space to notice what's going on with you? So Brene Brown will say you have to connect with yourself before you can connect with others. What's going on with your teammates, right? So you know how to serve and support them. So that's noticed. Thanks, great question. How'd I do, William? Was that all right? Thanks, buddy. What else? Anything else?
7 minutes.
7 minutes?
Yeah. So if you pick one, pick a good one.
Oh, is that also? Yep. Ops tempo, yeah. So remember I said that we prepare the force, we employ the force, and then we assess the force? I don't think that we have a really true understanding of our ops tempo, right? Oh, by the way, it's different depending on what mission area you're talking about, and even within that mission area, the types of missions we perform within that mission area. And if we understand the ops tempo better, which means we basically understand your lives, right? Because some of us might feel like the ops tempo drives our life. We were visiting the 867th COG at Fort Meade, and both the 315th and 341st, and one of them related a story. It was, the daily life of an ion on the CMF, right? But the basic summary was, I'm on mission for 12 hours. I get in my car, I'm on my way home, and I get a call to come back for another 6-hour mission. And that's not necessarily uncommon, right? But I can tell you, it's a freaking foul. That is unsat. I do not support that. It is uncool, right? But if we don't have a really good understanding of how to model our ops tempo, we won't have a way to really, from a coherent, logical, defensible position, explain to our bosses how you're employed day to day and how that affects our readiness and your lives, which I got to be honest with you. I don't know if you guys have ever picked this up, and gals, but I care about you as human beings first. Then I care about you as airmen. Then I care about you as cyber and ISR airmen. And then I care about how you're employed. Right? Because you're husbands, fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, partners, So that's the point, that's the part of the ops tempo that we're really trying to get after. What else? This is a safe space. Everything's okay. Every question is a good question. Ha! Go ahead. Either one of you. You guys fight it out. I want to battle royale. What's that? What about, training's up there? How did that get there? Okay. We have 15 work roles, a handful of certifications, all different training pipelines, with a lot of really nice anecdotal conversations about what's wrong. A lot of nuanced conversation about what's wrong. Guess what? being anecdotal and nuanced doesn't win the day. You need data and emotion. If you can put data and emotion together, you have a compelling argument, right? That's how you persuade, that's how you win. So we are laser focused on the training pipelines of the 15 work roles. We can't do all of it at the same time, so we're focusing on the first 6 critical work roles. We call them critical. You're all critical, but US Cybercom's language, the 6 critical work roles. And I've hired 2 process engineers, invested $351,000 into their expertise so that we can get a rigorous model of our training pipelines. So we can understand what the Manning model should look like so that we can produce senior and master work roles, right? So we have what we're calling it the Readiness Roundup in mid-November. We're actually, some of you might actually going to be there because we're looking for the subject matter experts in those 6 work roles to come and challenge these draft training models that we've built. Oh, by the way, US Cybercom J7, they've built something, right? 16th Air Force A9, I guess they built something. So what we're really trying to do is build a community of interest around this problem set and converge to an authoritative set of models that we can all agree to and then move out together. To identify the right operations, activities, investments to invest in to remove the constraints and create the force we need. Because if we do that, I think we can make your life, I know we'll make your life more predictable, and we'll give you the opportunity to regenerate and reconstitute, before you go back on mission. That's the ultimate goal. Great question. Thank you for that. Right behind you. Okay. Yikes. Yeah, that's a great question. There's people that would be interested in how to develop like constructive credit for work experience in lieu of technical training. So there's a little bit of conversation about that. As you guys know, my DCAG just graduated OTS and he's at UCT right now. I had this conversation with him before he went to OTS. And what I said was, there's always an opportunity to learn, and you raise the level of your class. So it's not necessarily about you, but it's about your cohort, your team, which is not a super awesome answer if you're thinking about picking up and moving family, for 6 months. So I got you. I understand that. Our training models are going to, we've been trying to figure out how to scope the problem so that we think we can, really start making some change for you soon. So we didn't have a session, and then we didn't have IST in the model. And then we added it in. We're like, IST probably needs to be there too. And so I could easily see us working through policy implications that may help us turn airmen faster. Look, if you have constructor credit and experience you had, go to OTS, get commissioned, go to an operational unit, or go get top-off training, depending on what role you're going into. I think that makes sense because you get airmen faster into the workforce, and you can help kind of put a force field around the family and support them. So I would just tell you there's more work there. It's 100% on our radar, and we're incorporating it in our training pipeline models. Is that cool? Yeah. Not super satisfying, but we will be satisfied no later than this time next year. How about that? You can write that down. Whoa. Any Pentagon discussion on that? No, I haven't seen it. I think it's, well, that's how we've always done it. I'd love you to help answer that question. That's why we have great teammates. Oh, yeah. Do it. So, but what I would tell you is that's a very subjective assessment, right? So where's the story that says I had to move my family with 4 kids and do the thing and then move back, and you know, it's absolutely an opportunity to meet your peers. You might also be able to do that in your first operation squadron. So I'm going to always try to be open and transparent. Thanks for the, what do they used to call that? Phone a friend? You know, a lifeline? I'll take them. I'll take them. What else you got? Time hack?
2 minutes over.
2 minutes over.
15:02.
Okay. Then we'll do this. We're at 15:02. I took 2 minutes of your time. I apologize. We're here for you. We love you and support you. And we'll be standing right over here if y'all have any questions. But I believe I'll turn it back over to our awesome MC and see what's next.
Thank you, sir. I don't know if anyone on virtual on YouTube has any questions.
Oh. Are we monitoring that? No questions from YouTube.
Facebook?
Are we actually streaming? Maybe we should have asked that at first.
Facebook
In
or
theory, we should be streaming. Okay. Cool. You want to do anything?
No, sir, that was
That's
all.
it? That's
Yes,
all.
sir.
That almost felt like anticlimactic, didn't it? Like we should be doing something right now. Hey! Nicely done. I think that looks like the Renegades, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, all right, very cool.
I'll get a gunslinger's light 'em up
Do
real
it.
quick.
Yes.
Gunslingers! On roll! Gunslingers! On